Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Eddrick Show. I am your host, Eddrick Jerome. This is the place for intelligent conversation with interesting people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know how I'm doing as I bring you this interesting content each and every week. My guest today is award-winning artist Mark Harris. Mark, along with his fellow artists Raymond L. Haywood and Brian K. Thomas, are part of the San Francisco Arts Commission main gallery exhibition titled Invincible Black Soul, The Art of Bearing Witness, which explores the work and legacy of novelist, playwright, and activist James Baldwin. Mark is the curator of the exhibition, which examines how artists across different media continue to use art as a tool to bear witness to the times we live in. The exhibition will run from May 19th through July 8th at SFAC's main gallery in San Francisco. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start out. Talk to me about the exhibition and why it's so important to explore the legacy of James Baldwin, especially in 2023.
So I've been a really big fan of James Baldwin's work for the last probably 5 to 7 years. I kind of discovered his work late as compared to some other people. And, when I immediately heard him speak, the first time was just on a YouTube video, just sort of got into the rabbit hole algorithm and really started diving deep into his work. And I was really just struck by the clarity with which he spoke and the urgency and the eloquence as well as the way he addressed the major social issue of the time during the 1960s, and just his tremendous courage to take that stand from his station in life just inspired me tremendously. Along the same period that I discovered his work, I was doing my own sort of social commentary via mixed media collages. And just the more that I listened to this man and the more I read about him and learned about him, I realized how ahead of his time that he was and how very relevant what he said 60 years ago is still very relevant today. So all that being said, I was given this opportunity by the Arts Commission to curate an exhibit. I submitted a proposal to, investigating Baldwin's work. In concert, this is the 60th anniversary of his visit to San Francisco. So in the spring of 1963, he visited the Western Addition and Hunters Point neighborhoods and basically just talked to Black residents. And there was a documentary film made about it by KQED called Take This Hammer. So part of the exhibit is to pay homage to that 60th anniversary of Baldwin actually being here in San Francisco, as well as to remind people of the work that still needs to be done, and let people know that there are Black artists who are still using their practices to raise awareness and to talk about injustices in society and to try to engage people to get involved where they fit in, where they best fit in.
And in addition to the work that you have in the exposition, you're also working with the other two artists, Brian K. Thomas and Raymond L. Haywood. Tell me about their contributions and what they, quote unquote, brought to the table in this exhibit.
So I've known both of these artists for quite a long time, 10 plus years, 15 years. And, they each bring their own powerful voice to this exhibit. And the reason that I selected these two artists to do this show is because of commitment to their craft. They're both extremely dedicated to their work, have been for long periods of time. Their work is excellent. And I want this exhibit to really demonstrate that African Americans or Black people are not a monolith. right? All
Mm.
three of our works, all three of the works that you'll see in this exhibit are very, very different, but we're all in our own way um, commenting on or reflecting on the work of James Baldwin, which we were already doing in our practices, but we're being a little bit more focused to his work in specific. And so I want people to see that. I want people to see that there's more than one way to express artistically how you feel about what's going on, what you're bearing witness to.
Let's talk now about you and your work. Going back, when did you know, or when did you realize that you had the talent to become an artist? And also, how did you develop the courage that you have to take on controversial subjects like race and politics and sexism?
So I've been drawing since I was about 7 years old. Um, Drew voraciously, very, every day until I started learning how to drive and date, and then it became less interesting. And I actually stepped away from it for many years and pursued a life in corporate America. Never quite felt fulfilled in about 20 years of doing that type of work from all types of industries, from finance to biotech to insurance. And 23 years ago, 22 years ago, I was living here, working in Palo Alto, and I just knew that it was time for a change. Um, I wasn't quite ready to make that change on my own, and then the universe sort of put me in a situation where I had to make a choice between, you know, being laid off of a job or taking a pay cut to stay in the same job that I didn't really like.
Mm.
And so I took that opportunity to sort of go out in the deep water and reinvent myself as an artist because I felt that it was just something I'd never tried, seriously, and that I thought I would get more fulfillment from pursuing a life as an artist than I had been. Um, so probably the first 10 years, 12 years, my art was art for art's sake. Really, I was creating work to sell.
Mm.
I was trying to find my own voice. And in 2014 or 2015, I'm not sure which year, but it was the year of the Ferguson unrest when Michael Brown was murdered. And that was a watershed moment for me um, when I decided that I could no longer sit on the sidelines and look at this sort of slow rolling genocide taking place. And the the way I felt I would have the most impact was through creating art, as well as working with at-risk youth. And my practice literally changed overnight as I watched these riots happening on TV. Just something welled up inside of me, and I had to shift. And it hasn't always been easy. Um, Creating the type of work that I do, it's not fun at
Mm.
times. No, it's really much more of a catharsis for me. And it helps me stay sane and grounded in, the conditions that I find myself in as a Black man in the 21st century in America. And through that process, I actually found that, me working on my own healing was benefiting other people in the responses that I was getting as I put this new type of work out. I was really nervous about it because people knew me as a different type of artist,
Mm.
but the response was really overwhelming. And and then I began to make the connection that my personal healing journey could benefit others because it's art, right? Because art has the ability um, to take complex issues, break them down into bite size or things that are discernible for people. And then unfortunately, there was one murder after another. Seemed like every 2 months between 2015 and 2017, and then on and on and on ad nauseum. And so um, I've really seen it as my duty. Um, Again, connecting to Baldwin's work and seeing what he did, and others, Nina Simone, Malcolm X, thinking about these ancestors who have committed their lives to truth telling, and to telling our story and to giving us a voice. And so that's what I don't have any problem for material, right? Because all this
Right.
crazy is going on. But that's really what in essence inspires me to keep going. When I think about, like I said, Baldwin and Nina Simone and Malcolm and Fannie Lou Hamer and Medgar Evers, and all of these outstanding members of our community that have sacrificed so much. I just see it as my duty to keep that going.
You mentioned the times we're in, which leads me to my next question. We are actually living in an age of book banning, attempts to erase African American history, and literally the criminalizing of teaching the truth. As an artist, how can you and your peers fight back against this censorship and keep creating works that continue to challenge and inspire and speak the truth?
So that's a fantastic question, and it's part of the reason for this exhibit. So the subtitle is The Art of Bearing Witness. And so just as you said, to your point, right now people are playing fast and loose with the truth and with facts, right? And it's everywhere. It's pervaded our entire culture. Definitely in terms of media, definitely in terms of politics. Social media is no better, right? We've created these silos where people can go to get what they want, right? That tickles their ears. And artists are independent thinkers. We're not beholden to anyone in order to speak our mind. So case in point, we see what happened to Colin Kaepernick, right? I wish there were many more athletes like him and entertainers that would use their platforms to talk about these issues. And we had this in the past. Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? This isn't new, but yet this white supremacist society that we're living in is so clever that we've elevated our entertainers and athletes to the point where they have really are disconnected from who they are, in my opinion, and where they come from and what sacrifices were made to get them there. And so they're beholden to these big studios and these team owners that will basically, if you get out of line, they're going to slap your wrist. Well, as an artist, I have none of those limitations. I can say what I want, the way I want it, and if I'm doing it in a way that's truly authentic and powerful, it's going to connect with people. And so artists have a unique ability to access the subconscious mind. And that's why you're seeing books being banned. And that's why you're seeing strong efforts at how history is taught. So I teach high school students. And one of the things I ask them, I say, well, of all the problems that are happening in the world right now, how education, how history is taught is being debated at the highest levels of our government. Why do you think that is, considering everything that's going on? And they don't understand. And then I tell them it's because you have the power to change that. If you know the truth, if we educated, in my opinion, one generation with the real truth, a lot of what we're seeing now would be drastically changed in just 25 years. And by that, I mean from early education through high school. If we really start telling the truth, things will change, because these young people are the ones that are going to be inheriting this mess, and they're going to want to change it. So the more ignorant and in the dark that they can keep all of us, the more it benefits the status quo. And so I think people have to make that connection, and people have to share that with young folks, that they really have a tremendous amount of power, because everything that they're seeing can I mean, it could only make one feel hopeless, especially a 14 or 15-year-old kid, right? But if we really educate them to the power they have, I think things would be different. And I think that's where art comes in, that we have the ability, like I said, to take complex issues, break them down, and make them understandable.
As an artist, have you ever created something that you later thought might be too controversial or crossed the line, and you maybe were reluctant to share it? So has you ever had to struggle with something like that?
All the time, all the time. For one, when that happens to me, I know that it's a good piece,
Mm.
right? Because if I'm feeling apprehension about it, just creating it in my studio, then I know that putting it out in the world is going to have the same effect. Um, and yes, there have been times, and many of my artist friends, I've talked to them on the phone about a piece I'm working on, and I'm just like, man, I just don't know. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can put this out there. Um, but then again, I just have to pause for a moment and think of all of the sacrifices that have been made for me and for you and for our community to be able to do what we've done, from people whose names we don't even know. We talk about the Mount Rushmore of civil rights advocates, right? Some of these names I've mentioned, but there've been so many unsung heroes
Mhm.
that stood up and tried to inspire and tried to make this country live up to its true ideals. And so I can't shrink away, excuse me, from my responsibility. And that's how I know that I'm onto something. When I'm feeling apprehensive about it, or it scares me, or the idea comes to me and I'm like, ooh, no, no, I can't do that. And that really means that I have to do it.
Mhm. Well, Mark, I know it's very busy for you, and I want to appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. So let me give the particulars. Our guest has been Mark Harris. He, along with artists Raymond L. Haywood and Brian Keith Thomas, are part of the San Francisco Arts Commission main gallery exhibition titled Invincible Black Soul, The Art of Bearing Witness, which explores the work and legacy of novelist, playwright, and activist James Baldwin. On May 19th is the public reception. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. At the SFAC main gallery, the War Memorial Veterans Building, which is at 401 Van Ness in San Francisco. But Mark, if people want more information about you or the event specifically, or SFAC, where can they go?
You can check out my Instagram page is the best thing. I'm doing updates will be Mark Harris Art. And my website is artofmarkharris.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, Mark, I want to thank you for coming on the Eddrick Show. I want to thank you for being courageous with your art and sharing your gifts with the world as, we try to change things one day at a time.
Exactly. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. This has been another edition of the Eddrick Show. I am your host, Eddrick Jerome. This is the place for intelligent conversation with interesting people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your online podcast streaming services. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode.